Well, hello, my name is Tanya Jolliffe, and I am a proud MSJ grad from 1988, and I am honored to get to come and share some information with you today and hopefully help you get your new year off to a great start with some health and wellness information. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm a licensed dietitian in the state of Ohio, and I'm also a certified mental health integrative medicine provider. So I'm bringing this information to you from a variety of experience and education and training. So I hope that you find that blending of the health and the wellness side of it to be helpful. So the first question I have is, did you set any resolutions or goals for 2021? Lots and lots of people set New Year's goals and resolutions. And then a lot of times by the time they get to the end of January, most of them have been broken or forgotten. Some of the reason for that is that what they've set up is not really a whole plan. It's a goal, but it doesn't have a process or a way in which to reach that goal mapped out. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit more so that we can help you achieve them, and that when you get to 2022, so a whole year from now, you're in a whole different place than where you are right now. And the world is crazy right now, and the world is going to be in a better place a year from now. I have faith in that. So I want you to be in a better place when we get there. So that's the approach that I'm taking with this. So are you set up for success? Maybe, maybe not. I hope that you are, but I hope that you can see more of the plan that's necessary versus just the goal that's out there by the time we get done with this. Success looks like a slow and steady progress instead of a quick fix. I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, well, lots of people have lost 20 pounds and then turned around and gained 20 pounds again because they did not have a lasting plan that was going to allow them to be successful for the long haul. So they gain, they lose, they gain, they lose. That's where dieting, chronic dieting comes in. And I want to tell you a secret. Chronic dieting is about making money for companies. It's not about you and better health. So we'll get to that more at the end, but you can give up chronic dieting and be very healthy and well at the same time. Think about the tortoise and the hare, the story of the tortoise and the hare. Who actually won? It wasn't the hare, it was the tortoise who was slow and steady as he went to finish the race. The finish line didn't change. It was always in the same place, but the process that he took to get there was very different than what the hare followed. So that's kind of my philosophy, is that I want you to get to the goal, but I want you to get there at the pace and the process that's going to help you be successful for lasting transformation, not just to be able to say that you got to a goal and you check a box. So sustained effort is important, whether it's with a diet and the physical side of your life, managing blood pressure, better A1C or glucose level, but it's also the process and that continuity instead of just reaching at, I got there. So that's what we're looking at. So I'd like to introduce a different concept to you, and that's one I call the culture of wellness. And a culture of wellness is that way of looking at life as an integrative health and wellness approach that looks at all parts of your life and fits it all with how you live and work. If you're putting a plan in place that doesn't fit with your work environment or your home environment, that's probably why by February you can't do it anymore, because it's not synergistic. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. We want to come up with a plan and an approach that gives you a culture of wellness, that every part of your life and your health and your well-being all are working together. That's where healthy, long-lasting transformation comes from. So I like to ignite the change within to help you find what it is you want to change and why you want to change it and how that's going to work with all aspects of your life. There are many dimensions of your life, not just physical well-being or mental well-being. Those are the two that we hear about most often, but those are only two dimensions. Some people say that there are 9 or 8. I look at 10. I look at 10 different dimensions. And you'll find that with stress, which is a leading problem with health management, all of these areas and dimensions of wellness all factor in. They all come together to create stress and response that cause us to not be able to meet our goals one way or another. So let's look at each of these 10 dimensions. And as I go through them, I want you to kind of just think, where am I in this area? How is this a good area for me, or is this an area that I am struggling with and I didn't even realize that this area could have an impact on my physical well-being and my health? Because really that's what physical well-being is all about. And we'll start with that because that's the one everybody knows about the most. When you go to your doctor says your blood pressure is high, or your glucose is high, or if you have diabetes, your A1C is too high. Your lipid profile, if you have some cardiac disease, you have high cholesterol, or you have abnormal lipid profiles with your HDL and your LDL, and you're looking at all of those things. I don't use BMI because I think there's a lot of flaws with BMI, but we can look at a waist circumference and look at that and the stability of your weight over time. And we can use those as factors of health as well. So those are the biometrical numbers that you're going to get and that you do want to follow, because that's going to tell you about your physical health. But stress in your life will attack every single one of these. Lifestyle choices will attack many of these. And so you can have the goal to improve your blood pressure, but if your stress is out of control and your life is chaotic, chances are you're not going to meet that goal. And you're going to end up with a higher need for a higher medicine to balance that. So that's where all of these pieces fit together. The same is true with glucose if you have diabetes. Stress plays into that, and lifestyle factors play into that. And if you pay no attention to the lifestyle factors, you can't be surprised that you don't see any improvement in your numbers, and that you go to the doctor and he says, well, you need another medication or you need more insulin. And so you're just in this constant cycle of, I don't address any of these other areas, but this physical area of my wellness and my well-being isn't improving. It's not surprising, it's just not talked about enough. And so that's what I bring to the table, is a different approach that brings those pieces back together. Okay, so now let's look at some of those other areas to see what could be affecting my physical well-being that is making it so that I'm not reaching my goals. Emotional wellness is one of the leading things. It's the fight and flight. It's the thing you don't have response over and can't really fix, but you can recognize it. And when you recognize it, you can bring those cortisol levels down. You can bring that anxiety down just by recognizing what you're feeling and maybe why you're feeling it. Anger at the election results, or fear over what's going to come next after we have a new administration, or any of those things. They affect your responses, your physical responses, but also your facial expressions and your body language also feed into that. You can be sitting with your arms crossed, and it can be because you're cold. But if you're sitting in a meeting, it can be giving the body language approach to someone else that you're angry. If you're confused, usually your face is going to show it first. If you're frustrated, if you're angry, your facial is going to show it first. And they're very telling about what we feel. And somebody might say, oh, you look afraid. Oh, no, I'm not afraid. Well, sometimes our body is telling us we're afraid, even though we're not identifying it. So that's where that emotional wellness and getting in contact and beginning to understand, what am I feeling and why am I feeling it, is an important step in helping to manage stress specifically. Mental wellness goes into it, and emotional wellness and mental wellness a lot of times get put together, but they really are very separate. The emotions are what's triggered, but the mental responses and the feelings come after that. And when you're coping with a difficult situation or facing feelings head on, how you talk to yourself. I'm such a loser. I never can do this. I'm never going to get this. I never fix this out, get this fixed. I never do it right. All of that negative self-talk is the mental wellness and the mental well-being that you are putting out of kilter based on the emotions that you're feeling, if that makes sense. So you feel the emotions, they're triggered by some kind of response in the world that you have seen or experienced based on past experiences in your life. Those are very real. But then how you respond to them mentally, the thoughts that you have, how you give into them, and how you talk to yourself all play together to make it more and bigger and more magnified. That also goes with positive self-talk about body clarity, the way you look, your size, your shape. And I won't get into that extensively, but you are a genetic response, and you can't change that. You can't change your body chemistry. You can't change your genetics. You are who you are. You have a large frame or a small frame. You know, when you put your fingers around your wrist, I can barely touch. I'm a large frame. My mother's a small frame and she can overlap by this much. You can't change those things. I take after my dad. My brothers take after my mother. That's how you're born, and you cannot change those things. So trying to be some shape or size that you're not and you never will be, that's unhealthy. And that's what the world has told it, and dieting companies have told you needed to do. And we feed into that over and over again. I don't measure up. I'm not good enough because I'm not the same size as so-and-so and so-and-so. And so all of that feeds into each other, and it feeds into the choices that we make, the diets we choose, the programs we follow, and why we get ourselves in a very unhealthy state. So if that's something that you struggle with, I'll tell you at the end how I think I can help you. But I would love to see everybody give up chronic dieting and stop helping diet companies and who sell books and programs and tapes and powders and pills to go out of business, because it's a marketing situation, not a health and wellness situation. And I hope I don't come off too strong on that, but I am passionate about it. Spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness has to do with your spirituality. And if you are a believing person and you believe in Jesus Christ and you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, then that would be your spirituality. But there are people who don't have that relationship, and they don't have that spirituality, and that's fine too. Wherever you find your spirituality is where you find and derive your meaning of life and your place in it. And when people are struggling, whether it's to find a religion or whether it's to get away from a religion, or wherever they're struggling, that spiritual uneasiness affects other areas of their life. It affects their relationships. It affects their emotions and their intellectual well-being. I mean, all of those other areas are affected because there's a disconnect in their spiritual wellness. So wherever you are in your journey, you want to get right with this part of your life if you're wanting to see other areas met. And so this is an area that maybe you have not given enough attention to. Maybe you didn't recognize that you're struggling with your faith, or you're struggling with finding what makes sense, and you don't really know where you derive your meaning of life and your place in it. And that might be a place that you need to work on to help you have a better spiritual wellness and a better sound well-being. Relational wellness, understanding how the people and the relationships around you impact you. If you're all around a coworker or around a family member or a neighbor, and you're triggered and you are emotionally upset and you're mentally upset, and every time you're around them, that's probably not a healthy relationship. And that's something you have to look at. Why am I responding like this to somebody all the time? In today's culture and today's society, where we're at is we're on two different divides. And if you believe over here and somebody over here says something you don't like and you're automatically responding, it affects your emotions. It affects your stress. It affects your waist circumference. It affects a whole lot about how you're going to be healthy and well because of how you're responding in those relationships. And do you have that ability to accept other people instead of trying to change them and wanting them to be who you want them to be? You have to look at your view of other people. It's as much as we want to believe it's about them, it's really not. It's about us. It's about how we view them and how we respond to them and how we are triggered by them. And we have to begin to decide what's a healthy relationship, what's not, and how we deal with those things. Okay. And it's family, it's friends, it's coworkers, it's a whole lot of people. And so we have to start to spend some time examining that, because it does affect our physical and our mental and our emotional well-being every single day of our lives. The next one is intellectual wellness, and that's how you bring in information and knowledge, and how you take it in, how you're able to be creative with it, or critical and analytical with it. It may be that too much information for you is overwhelming and is anxiety producing, and you need to turn off the news, and you need to turn off social media, and you need to have less information. I happen to be somebody that the more I dig into it, the more I research it, the more facts I find, the more comfortable I feel. So actually more intellectual information and use is helpful to me. But I have many friends and people I've worked with that the opposite is true for them. The more information they have, the more overwhelming it becomes. So you have to know you. You have to know what is your trigger, where you're at, how you should be handling intellectual wellness in a different way to make it a positive in your life instead of a negative. Social wellness, it's very similar to relationship wellness, and yet it focuses more on how well you deal with people on a personal and professional level. Do you blow up at them? Do you listen to them? Do you belittle them? Do you discount them? All of those types of things. And so what feeds into that is, are you a time manager? Or do you make people wait for you? So, oh, I'm always late. Well, you're being disrespectful to the people that you're making wait. And you might not recognize that from a social well-being standpoint, but it sends a message to the person that you're disrespecting with their time. If you're a part of a group, a team project, and you're not ever carrying your part of the weight, like lots of people in school hated group projects because there was people who always did most of the work and people who didn't. And that's why group projects are so frustrating. We approach them in different ways. And so when we feel like we're not being respected, that comes in with that social well-being. So how successfully are you taking care of the responsibilities that you have in your life when they relate to other people is really what that is about. Vocational wellness, having a positive attitude toward what you do and feel that it meets a need, whether it's paid or volunteer. If you're putting in your time and you feel like nobody cares and it's worthless, then maybe that's not a good volunteer situation for you. The same is true about where you work. If you really hate what you do and you really hate where you work, you probably should go find something else. And this one has always been a big one for me ever since I was in college. I felt privileged to be at the Mount. I felt privileged to be there. Now, I was there on a scholarship, and so I felt privileged to have received the scholarship, and I felt privileged to be there. But I had classmates who would go around in the dorm, I hate it here. I hate the Mount. And I remember saying to them, if you don't like it here, there's plenty of other colleges and universities. UC's just down the street, and it's cheaper. Why are you here? My parents want me here. Well, if you're doing things and you're in a job or a profession because somebody else wanted you to be there, a college that somebody else wanted you to be at, a company that somebody else said would be a good idea for you, maybe you need to look at your vocational wellness to say, I'm in this for all the wrong reasons, and that's why I'm not happy, and I need to make a change, because it doesn't matter how much money you make if you're miserable. On the flip side, if you're miserable and you're not even making enough to, pay the bills, but somebody told you it was a good career path, you got to look at what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And how did I get here? And if I'm not happy, it's affecting the rest of my life, all the other dimensions of my well-being. And I have the opportunity and the right to make a change, to make me happier. And when you're happier, you're going to give back to the world the plan and the purpose for which God made you and put you here to begin with at this time and this place. So they all work together. Financial wellness. You know, a lot of people are struggling right now, and it's at no fault of their own. So this might be an area that you are really having stress about. And that's understandable. And that's something you have to look at and say, okay, this is bringing me stress in my life for these reasons. And what steps can I take about it? And that's where you have to really unpack that a little bit more. If your budget is tight, but you're still going to Starbucks for a $5 or $7 cup of coffee a couple of days a week, maybe that's something you're bringing on yourself and you could fix. If you're still going for a manicure that you really can't afford, or you're smoking and the cost of those cigarettes is adding to the stress and the strain, those might be areas you need to look at to say, I could make a change in this area and it would benefit me in this way that would help me reach this goal. And that's what that plan is and that process. It's not just looking at the end result, but it's looking at all of the parts and the pieces that go along with it to help me get to where I want to be, so that a year from now, I am happy and transformed and whole in a way I never knew I could be. The last one is environmental wellness. And I put it on here because it is something that we should all care about. God made one earth and we should all take care of it. And we all have a responsibility to take care of it. And we should have that as a part of our life. We should have recycling. We should participate in recycling. We should try to reuse, reduce as much as we can. But there's a flip side to that. If you are so bought into environmental wellness that it causes anxiety and emotional responses when you see other people not doing it, and it's making you unwell because you are so keyed up because other people don't care as much as you care, that's something you have to look at. You only control you. You only control what you do. And you can't be so consumed by what other people do or don't do. And I have seen that there are people that this area is so passionate to them, but it is causing such stress in them because of that. And it's an area that needs to take a look at. So maybe it's not anything you really ever thought of. You thought, hey, I'm for the environment, and that's great. And it is great. Nobody's taking that away. But if you are projecting all of your cares and your focus and your passion on what someone else should be doing, you're what we call shoulding somebody. And we should never be shoulding somebody about anything: their weight, their health, their job, the environment, any of it. People are people, and they get the right and the freedom to be individuals, to be all that they were created to be. And it's their job to figure out what that is. So the question I have for you is, do you have a positive culture of wellness? And unfortunately today, many, many people do not have a positive culture of wellness because it takes work. It doesn't just happen. You can't just have it overnight happen. It's something that is created. But the good news is it can be created. You can stop looking at a goal and you can start looking at the process, and you can start looking at how you bring a process to change your life in many dimensions to make you healthy and happy and whole. So, do you need help? I've spent the last year and a half creating a company that is focused on health and wellness from a culture of wellness approach. And I have several coaching programs that I would love to offer to you as an MSJ alum at a 25% discount for you to begin to unpack those. The lifestyle wellness coaching will go through all of those areas that we just went through in more detail. And we'll come out from a one session. You'll come out with a plan of attack for how you can begin to start changing your culture of wellness individually as you get done with that. So a little bit of time, 1 hour consultation session, and you will have a plan that you can use to help you begin to make changes. Mindful eating and coaching. if you are a chronic dieter, if you have disordered eating of any kind, that there's certain foods you do eat, certain foods you don't eat. On my website, you'll see a quiz that you can take, and you can go through and answer some questions to find out, do you have some disordered eating? Many college students do, many adult women who had never dealt with their disordered eating in college did. I had a disordered eating issue when I was in college. It followed me out of college. And a lot of what I do now is what I used to break free from that. I put it into a journaling program a year ago called the Mindful Me Journey, a 40-day guided journal toward a healthier relationship with food and exercise. That book is out on Amazon, and you're welcome to use that yourself and go through it yourself. It will help you look at thoughts, feelings, and emotions related to food and help you discover maybe there are things and emotions you didn't even realize you had. But I also have a mindful eating coaching program that uses that program for 5 weeks to work with me one-on-one, in addition to using the guide to help you begin to unpack that. And I've worked with several ladies at the end of last year who, had eating disorders and disordered eating that they've had for years. And it wasn't until they really unpacked, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? What are the emotions and the feelings behind it, that helped them to really break free and see healthy eating and wholeness eating away from diets and programs. So if that's for you, I would love to work with you. I also have 2 virtual coaching programs. One is a stress management program, and it's 8 weeks long, and you get a message every day from me, some kind of video, some kind of teaching, some kind of support or encouragement every day for 8 weeks. And then I have also one on healthy living. So it's it's virtual coaching. You don't work with me one-on-one, but you get information and messaging and coaching from me every day for 8 weeks or 12 weeks. So if something like that is maybe less intimidating, that you can just do it on your own, that's another option as well. And the stress management one, actually, a lot of the videos come from a stress management talk that I did a year ago at the Mount, and incorporated some of that teaching into that, so that it's giving you information and practice so that you become, after 8 weeks, more able to manage your stress. That's the goal of that one. So if any of those programs would be helpful to you, I would love to work with you. And again, use that discount code, and you be able to, start this year in a more wellness focused a manner, and hopefully end this year in a whole different place that you didn't even know was possible.